Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
My liver's all twisted up. But you know what I did? I loaded up with alcohol, more specifically vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
Who wants an orange whip? Orange whip? Orange whip? 3 orange whips.
So you're bored, are ya? I've come here to break your monotony. Let me have my piece, because I'm shooting with this one, folks. I don't care, man.
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary.
Why did you say that? Why? Why? You come out with stink like that? Poop. Your poop mouth. You have poop out of your mouth.
See, son? Old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an out-of-work bum look a lot alike, Daddy.
I've got a midget friend, an albino friend, and another friend who thinks Lord of the Rings is real. Together we call ourselves the Unfuckables.
Quinton is in. Let the fun begin.
Body touch.
You guys are an asshole, man.
I've never heard of that.
Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. I am Izzy Presley, and this is Metal Edge Magazine presents another fucking podcast. We are doing this right now, Drunken Summit style. Amazing show for you this evening. Oh my God. AC/DC, Highway to Hell versus Back in Black. Round number 2. We did this a couple months ago with some of the listeners, and Back in Black won. So if Highway to Hell wins this one, that means best 2 out of 3 falls. So we're going to have to do it one more time down the road. But anyways, you guys know the spiel. Make sure you follow all the social media at Real Lizzy Presley all the way across the board, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, the show page on Facebook is another effing podcast. And with me is my co-host, my cohort from Metal Edge Magazine, the one and only Paul Gargano.
Your partner in grime.
My partner in grime. Yes. Welcome back from Volbeat. Jesus Christ. Jesse, I'm sorry, but I couldn't find your goddamn whiskey out here in California, so I had to use the old standard. I apologize, because I did want to have some tonight. But Rob Caggiano from Volbeat, welcome back, sir.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
You got anything in the works right now that we need to get out?
I mean, there's always stuff going on, but I mean, I guess the most recent thing, well, there's going to be a new Volbeat record at some point. We don't know when it's coming out, obviously, because everything's so crazy right now out there, right. But at some point in the near future, that'll be out.
Very cool.
Yeah, other than that, I have a new guitar plugin with a company called STL Tones for their tone hub. So I have a signature artist pack with that, and it's like 70 guitar tones that I recorded. And yeah, it's just a really cool plugin if you for all the guitar players out there, if you're, doing a lot of writing and demoing or recording, whatever it is. I mean, it's a super useful tool. So
very cool. Yeah. And welcoming for the first time from Jackyl, and you know him from the big TV show, ladies and gentlemen, James Dupree. Welcome, my friend.
Cheers, guys. Good to see you. And I'll have to remedy the fact that you don't have any Jesse James bourbon. I have to get some in the mail to you. We're very proud. We're approaching 200,000 cases sold of the Jesse James bourbon.
Holy shit!
And we're just looking this year to actually open up. You can find us in California in some places, but we're actually looking at making a priority push this year out toward the West Coast. We've been predominantly Southeast, Midwest, that kind of thing. And yeah. I've been, along with Jackyl, still doing 100 shows a year, which I'm blessed to still be able to have the same sons of bitches with me that we're out there kicking it and leaving a stain. But along with that, I've been consulting the Harley-Davidson Motor Company for the last 5 years. And so I've got a series of campaigns that we're rolling out. Like right now, we're right at the tail end of what we call Rolling Daytona. And we have 60 markets activated with dealerships in all 60 markets. And we've been promoting for the last 8 weeks for everybody to get on their Harleys and ride down to Daytona Beach Bike Week. And part of it is they go into the dealerships and they register, and we're giving away a Jesse James bourbon, VFW. The Veterans of Foreign Wars is also
very cool.
An organization that I'm real close to. And in the last couple of years, we've raised over $100,000 for the Unmet Needs program that helps our veterans that find themselves in financial hardship. And we've got a big culmination of the Rolling Daytona campaign that comes together a week from this Saturday, and Jackyl will be performing. And that's where we're not only giving away the Jesse James Bourbon VFW 2021 Electric Glide motorcycle, but we're at Harley Davidson, but we're also giving away a trip to Sturgis.
Badass.
About a $5,000 package. And we have we rebuilt, Izzy mentioned the TV show. We did 6 years of the reality show up Full Throttle. And when it burnt down, we had to lick our wounds. It's $10 million worth of ashes and no insurance because there was no running water on the property, so that nobody would insure it. So, but nobody got hurt or killed. So we moved down the road. We have 600 acres now. You guys should come and do your podcast from Sturgis. We have Beyond Thunderdome. We have Beyond Thunderdome for people who love badass motorcycles, beautiful women in a cold belly washer, which happens to be the Jesse James Bourbon. And we also we have an Olympic sized swimming pool. We have a firing range where you can shoot 50 caliber guns and Uzi machine guns. And we bring in cars and vans for you to blow up. Just all kind of cool stuff. So come get on the Full Throttle train.
Dude, I would love it. Fuck. I mean, I could bring my Ace Frehley tribute band up there too.
Well, don't goddamn it, don't threaten me. We ain't been here 5 minutes and now you're threatening me.
Well, welcome to the show. I think we might have met when I used to be on Rockin' 101 up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And you guys did Halfway Jam a couple times. And I think we might have met, but I can't remember if we had, because there's a lot of alcohol that goes on during that.
Yeah. That's all. That was always.
You don't drink, Izzy.
I don't know what you're talking about. Might as well pull one back for the working man. Ladies and gentlemen, another first timer who've been wanting to get on for a while, from Thin Lizzy and from the Black Star Riders. We've had your beautiful bass player on. What the fuck is his name? Why am I?
Robert Crane.
Yes, Robbie
Crane. Yeah, that's all right. I fucking forget it sometimes as well. That guy in the bass, right?
Yes, Ricky Warwick. Welcome.
Thank you. How's it going, guys?
Dude, it's great to see you, man. You have a record out now.
Record came out about 10 days ago called When Life Was Hard and Fast on Nuclear Blast Records. Cobra myself and Keith Nelson, Xbox Cherry, co-wrote a bunch of songs on it with Keith Nelson as well, and it's been out and about on Nuclear Blast. It's doing pretty good. Just can't go out and tour the fucking thing. That's the only problem.
Yeah, right. You just got to follow Jesse around. They're fucking playing in a month.
Dude, I know.
Right?
I thought I was doing good putting a new album, and then I heard Jesse's stuff. I was like, oh fuck, my stuff sucks, man, compared to what Jesse's got going on, man.
just wake up and take a big bite out of life's ass every day. So.
There you go, Jesse. I'm with you, brother.
As long as you're doing what you love doing.
Exactly.
Well, I've got Ricky. I've been listening to your album pretty much nonstop, so it's
Thanks, Paul.
Fantastic. It's really good. And your live shows were actually something that helped get us through the insanity of the lockdown at the beginning there.
Thank you. Cheers. No, me too, man. It's been just on a personal level, just the fact to have something to focus on every month, and even though it's just online, but just to learn a bunch of songs and just to play and connect with people it's good for the old noggin,
Yeah. Well, it keeps us. We needed that bit of normalcy too.
Yeah. As well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a godsend to be able to do it. I mean, I would never even have dreamed of going of opening a laptop and singing into it, the whole virtual thing. I'd be like, no, that's not me. But I mean, I've really enjoyed it the last year. It's been a little bit of salvation,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure yours did a lot better than mine. I started out doing these Izzy Stop Playing That shows. So people would tip me to stop playing songs. The best one, and we'll get on to AC/DC. So I was Butchering Joey by Concrete Blonde. And Stevie Rochelle from Tough tipped me to stop, not knowing that the next song was I Hate Kissing You Goodbye from Tough. And he sat through the whole goddamn thing. It was awesome.
That's cool, man.
So let's get into this AC/DC a little bit. For me, it's going to be tough because it was tough last time, but now I just listened to him again this afternoon. It's like, fucking A. It's so fucking hard. But AC/DC in general, when did you guys get into AC/DC? You remember the first time you heard them? Anybody? Go ahead.
We'll all jump in at once.
I'll jump in at once. Whoever starts.
AC who?
I'll share with you guys a story that means a lot to me. Paul and I were talking before we went on the air about a livestock show, and there was I went down to Brian's house, Brian Johnson from AC/DC, and he had a brand new Aston Martin he was excited about, and so I rode with Brian in his Aston Martin from there up to the livestock festival, and we were there a good bit of the day. There's a lot of crazy and such went on, and after the show and after all the crazy, Brian looks at me and he says, well, he goes, if you don't mind me, son, he goes, maybe we should head on back to the house. It's been a long day and I'm getting a bit tired. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we split out and he had parked that beautiful Aston Martin way out across the backstage area, obviously keeping it away from any asshole that might scratch it or bump up against it or whatever. And I'll never forget, because you open up the door and just the smell of leathers, the strongest smell of the most incredible smelling leather I've ever smelled. So anyway, so we get in the car and he hasn't even cranked it up yet. And these two guys come running across the field in the back and they're screaming just bloody hell. Oh, and he rolls his window down and they had their copy of Back in Black. And they said, hey, babe, will you please sign our album, sign our. And he goes, yeah, me son. So he signed, he goes, I got Jesse here and he wants me. And he's always a gentleman. Right. And so he gives them the album and they take off running through the field, ready to knock a brick wall over. They were so excited.
Yeah.
And he sits there for a minute, and it was dusk at this time. It was kind of dark, and he sits there for a minute, just looking straight ahead through the windshield into the black and into the dark, and he just pauses for a minute, and I'm sitting there wondering, and he goes, I've never understood that. And I said, what's that? He goes, people wanting your signature. He said, it's fucking strange. They want your fucking signature. And I said, well, maybe from me, I can say, but everybody knows where they were the first time they heard Back in Black.
Right.
Everybody, It's like, where you were when Elvis died, where you were when, if somebody landed on the moon or what, there's all these historical things that you may remember in life. And one of them is where you were the first time you heard Back in Black. And I shared that with him and he thought for a minute, he went, and he's cranky and we drove off. But it was just a cool moment because I had him thinking about it for 1 minute, and then he but it was one of those moments. If you'd have told me that I was, and I've had many with him because he's a dear friend, but I'm still the biggest fan. And if you'd have told me that I'd have a moment like that or others that we've had together, if you'd have told me that back when I was 15 years old, and I camped out for 2 nights to get tickets for Back in Black to sit front row, I would have ran straight into a freight train and stopped it. But I was thank you. Oh yeah, there you go.
Give people a reason on YouTube to watch the YouTube stream. That's actually that day at Livestock. I took those photos backstage of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll answer your question. I was actually right out of high school, and I was playing at a place called the King's Gallery up in Roanoke, Virginia, I think it was. And I remember it was around the same time that dance music was still kicking, and the little DJ guy was back there, and he had just had it introduced. Here's a new song by the Human Ledge. Instead, it was the Human League, but he called it the Human Ledge. And and he was introducing all of his songs. But here's the new AC/DC or whatever. And I remember he played Back in Black, and my jaw was just on the floor. And but that's the first. That's my answer. That's where I was the first time I heard AC/DC. I'd heard other stuff, but that's the first time they really impacted me.
How big? Because I listen to Jackyl and I can hear it, but how big was AC/DC? As God, I sound like a hack saying, "Oh, well, how big were the influence?" But there's obviously influence there.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up. My dad lost everything. My initial influence as far as singing was because I always wanted to be a guitar player, but I had actually learned to power up because my dad lost his job back in the early 70s. And I came home from elementary school one day and he had sold everything we had, including my bicycle. And we moved to the armpit of the world, Gadsden, Alabama. and we lived about 3 blocks down the road from a steel plant, and everything was covered in soot. And they bought a little cafe, and we went from a Leave It to Beaver type home to, you know, the little sitcom we to a perfect little home to living in the back of a mobile home trailer behind this asphalt parking lot of a cafe. But the guy used to come and change the 45s out on the jukebox, and he would give me the 45s, and I'd put them in a washed out 5-gallon pickle barrel, and I'd take them to the back of that room. But that's where I learned stuff like Wilson Pickett and James Brown, and there was a guy named Joe Tex, and that's where I learned how to play. You know, I got you.
Yeah.
Now beating you. But now give it here. Come on. You know, and that's where I really learned how to power up. But then I found a use for it whenever I discovered stuff like Humble Pie and AC/DC and that kind of thing.
What about you, Ricky?
Yeah, man. You know, Belfast in Ireland, you know, 13 years old, being really into punk rock and the strange situation that was going on back then in the 70s and 80s with all the troubles and shit that was going on. You know, music was a way out for just us kids. You know, it was something that to get us away from the bullshit of all the terrorism and the sectarianism that was going on a daily basis. And I was really getting into punk rock, and a buddy of mine came over, and he was a punk as well. He had an AC/DC album. I was like, what are you doing bringing them over? They're heavy metal. We're not into heavy metal. We're punks. We're not going to listen to this. He goes to me, he said, his name was Billy Smith. He says, Ricky, he goes, you don't understand. I says, Billy, we're not listening to this. It's heavy metal. We're punks. We can't be listening to anything that's heavy metal. He goes, you need to listen to this. And he puts on Highway to Hell. And it starts with that riff. And I went, and none of us spoke for like, you know, the whole song. And I just went, that's the greatest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, and then we listened to the whole album, and we were up, you know, we were jumping around the room, my bedroom, and all that. And my dad came in, my dad's like, boys, what you on? What have you taken? Just tell me if you're taking drugs, just tell me if you're taking drugs. You know, we're 13, 14. I was like, Dad, we're nothing. Have you heard this album? It's the hell, you know, blah, 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 Highway to Hell, you know, AC/DC. He goes, it sounds like rubbish. I think you're on something, you know? And I just remember as clear as day, that was the first time I'd ever heard it. And I just was like, you know, suddenly I'm out of this little box that I've got into the punk rock thing. And suddenly, you know, that led me on to Black obviously came next. And that was just like, fuck, these guys are unbelievable. You know, they just keep giving, you know? And then it was, you know, we get out of our little punk rock box and into Thin Lizzy, into Motorhead, you know, into Sabbath, and suddenly it was like, it was okay to like these bands. But I just remember Billy Smith coming over with that album and just playing it, and it was a game changer. It was a game changer for me. It absolutely was.
Yeah, it's like, I remember it because I mean, growing up in central Minnesota, it's like we would have bonfire kegger parties in high school, and I mean the soundtrack was always Skinner's Innards, Van Halen 1, and fucking Steve Miller's greatest hits and Back in Black. You know, it's like you just associate it.
I'd never heard anything like it. There's nothing like it. I never heard anything like it in my life. You know, I mean, just Highway to Hell. It was it's a great expression that a buddy of mine comes up with. He says, "Fucking Highway to Hell." He says, that song makes you want to punch thunder. Punch it. Makes you want to fucking punch thunder. Makes you want to go down the front and punch thunder. Punching thunder, big man. We're going to be punching thunder. And that's it. That sums up punching thunder, you know?
Oh, that's
Highway to Hell.
Beautiful. That's fucking beautiful. Rob, what about you, man?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. For me, like that was the first record. Back in Black was the first album I got when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the album that pretty much sealed my fate, I guess. You know, I just remember, you know, I was with my mom at the local Yonkers Raceway flea market in Yonkers, New York. And they had like this, if I remember correctly, it was just like a vendor that sold all this like rock and roll heavy metal stuff. Like, you know, at the time, like the studded fucking leather bracelet, you know, the leather, you know, all that stuff, back patches, and they had some vinyl. And I just remember, I vividly remember seeing the AC/DC album cover. And for some reason, I was like, I want that one. I told my mom, you know, whatever. I don't know why, because it's not like that album cover is exciting. It's just a black cover with the logo.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's just something about it that grabbed me. And yeah, that was it. I took that album home. I had this little vinyl player that my grandmother got me, this little thing, and popped it on there, and that was it. I was fucking done. You know, it's you know, still to this day, it's like, for me personally, that's my holy grail record. You know, whenever I'm in the studio, because I travel a lot and, you know, work out at different studios and stuff, that's always the record that I would put on to get my ears, you know, acclimated or whatever to the room, and just kind of, you know, that's just the benchmark record for me. It's just always, it always sounds amazing no matter where you are, and it's just a phenomenal album.
Oh, let me ask you this though. I mean, so you bought Back in Black, and then obviously I'm assuming you went backwards and started listening to some of the older shit, right?
Yeah. So for me, it was Back in Black, and I think a week or two later, I mean, I was really fucking young. I was 7 or 8 years old. But a week or two later, at the same flea market, I ended up getting Van Halen 1.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, to this day, I mean, Angus Young and Eddie Van Halen are by far my two biggest influences on the guitar. But of course, you know, from there, you start getting all the other records, and you know, I think we all have the same experience as far as music goes, because we're all really passionate about music. But
right.
Once you get the bug, once you find something that you really love, it's just like you can't get enough of it. You want to hear every fucking thing they've ever done, and you know, like, so that's how I was as a kid. You know,
so when you went and bought the older shit, I mean, did you know the story about how, you know, Bon had died? Did you know there was a previous lead singer? And then when you put it on, did you put it on and go, who the fuck is this guy? What happened to this guy? Yeah,
I mean, for me, obviously, I mean, AC/DC had been around for a little bit before I got turned on to them. And you know, Brian was the first AC/DC vocalist I heard. So for me, and I think you know, that still stands, like, that's the sound of AC/DC for me. It's still, honestly, I have to say, I love Bon Scott. I love all those records. I mean, obviously, but Back in Black, the vocal performance is still the pinnacle. I've never heard of a fucking rock vocal performance beat that record, like, still to this day. And the crazy thing is, like, all these years later, this was recently, I was producing a record for the comedian Jim Brewer, and he wanted to make a rock record, and I ended up playing all the guitars, writing all the music and stuff, and producing the record. But he does I'll try to make a long story short. He does an unbelievable Brian Johnson impersonation, if you guys know. And he was friends with Brian. So they were going to do a song together. And so I wrote the track. You know, we flew down to Florida to cut Brian's vocal. And yeah, I mean, for me, that was like one of the most amazing days ever. You know, I got a chance to work with my hero. He's singing on one of my songs, which was fucking crazy. You know? And yeah, he came in. It's actually a really funny story, but he came in, he banged out his vocals in, like, I don't know, 25 minutes. And yeah, and then he invited us back to his house, and he cooked us steaks. It was fucking crazy. Totally crazy.
Oh,
yeah, really amazing day.
Paul, I want to get your story in a second, but I want to ask this question to the rest of the guys too. I mean, are you guys a Bon guy, or are you a Brian guy? Is it a tough decision, or is it, fuck it, I just love both? Or
I love both. Both incredible. For, you know, they're both dyed-in-the-wool rockers, but they both bring something to AC/DC that's unique in their own individuality. And you know, Bon Scott was going to be impossible to replace, and I always adhere to the whole thing that you can't replace anybody. You have to look for somebody that can stand beside or bring something to what's already there.
That's a
talking
great
from
point.
from my own experience.
Yeah, right.
And you know, and Brian does that, you know, and I'll agree with Rob. I mean, what a fucking vocalist, you know. It's incredible. It's just his voice is incredible. The strength and power to be that in that register is just,
I know.
But then Bon's got the personality and the feel and the
swagger.
You know, so
he's got the swagger.
Exactly.
To his demeanor.
Thank you. Yes.
He's got the dick swing, you know. Jesse, what about you?
Yeah, you guys just nailed it. It really, it seems like it would be hard to, but you want to put them there together because they both sang for the same band. But as much as they both had the ability to, to be nasty, and power up. Bon was the definition of sleaze and swagger. And like you said, swagger is a great word for him. And Brian is the ultimate definition of power. I mean, they're really very disparate from each other. And it's one of those things where neither one of them could do, it's like really, to me, I see the difference between it's like asking Mick Jagger to sing a Journey song or asking Steve Perry to sing a Rolling Stone song, because to me, that's how disparate the two of those, Brian and Bon, are. Brian does a very great, respectful job of playing the Bon, singing the Bon stuff, but he's not Bon. And likewise, Bon wasn't Brian. They're two very disparate, and it's hard to say that you're picking between the two because they're so close, because they're not. They're very far apart.
Right. Well, it's a lot like the Sam and Dave fight too, you know? Speaking of that, welcome to all the new listeners that are joining the YouTube page and going back and watching some of the old episodes. But it's funny watching all the Dave Bobos go on there, because we did Eat 'em and Smile versus 5150 and 5151. Like, dude, it's fucking it's only Dave. It's only fucking Dave. And it's like, dude, there's 4 covers on it.
Is Sebastian Bach a Dave Bobo?
I guess. I guess. And I love both. I mean, I actually sell shirts and I love Van Hagar. Deal with it. And, it's funny, Paul, you bring that up because Paul wants to do Slave to the Grind versus Cowboys from Hell. You do realize it is going to be 2 hours of, dude, when we wrote that fucking song, it'll just never fucking end. It'll never end. Paul, what is your AC/DC story?
I've at some point I'm gonna have to stop telling my story about how I got into metal and stuff, because I think every other show we talk about it. But I mean, for me, I didn't have somebody that taught me the ropes. I didn't have, I had girls that lived next door to me, so that's like the pop music is what they listen to, and that's what I listened to. I was influenced. I didn't have older friends. I didn't have older brothers. I didn't really have anyone with that music around me. So I was influenced by what was dangerous. And for me, it was the bullies, like the kid that would throw rocks at us while we were riding our bikes down the street. He had a Ted Nugent back patch, or, he had AC/DC scribbled on his notebook. And it was like, that was what led me to a lot of the music I went to. Because I'm like, this kid's an asshole. What's this band like that he listens to? And then I just got like addicted to it. I mean, that was what turned me on to music. I mean, the bullies. But the first album I ever got was Kiss Alive 2. First cassette I ever bought was For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. And it was very simple at that point. My mom wasn't going to let me get Highway to Hell. And that was a very safe cover. It was a Canon. There was nothing offensive about it. And I was able to get that. And then I remember like trying to hide the cassette from my mom, because like Evil Walks was just like the scariest song on the planet when you're a little kid. You're like, But that was my introduction to AC/DC right there. And then it was, from there, it just escalated, because obviously you dive into a catalog that's just insane.
Lori checking in from Australia in the chat room says Bon is AC and Brian is DC. I can't argue with that. That's kind of funny. Jeffro Lee Roth says there are 3 rules to live by. Never eat a potato salad that isn't as chunky as a trailer park hooker. Never stand next to a donkey on drugs at a strip club, and never, ever trust anyone who doesn't own both of these masterpiece AC/DC albums. Follow these rules and everything else is pure grease lightning. He's got a point.
Well, all right, so Izzy, I have a question. After last week's Rust in Peace, shall we say, expose on your part, have you listened to both AC/DC records we're going to talk about today?
I did listen to that goddamn record last week. I just hadn't listened to it until a couple hours before the show.
But you have listened. You have grown up. We'll go to your
Dude, it's fucking Highway to Hell and Back in Black. And actually today, I was driving around to Targets around here, and I bought Back in Black and Highway to Hell, because even though I've heard both of those albums in its entirety many times, I've never owned them on vinyl, and I went and bought them on vinyl. And of course, sitting and waiting, and I found this goddamn Elvis shirt that I couldn't resist either.
That's a great shirt, Lizzy.
Thank you.
I'm digging
Thank
that
you very
shirt.
much. Speaking of, I mean, what do you guys think of the new record? Have you guys checked that out? I'm assuming you guys have.
It's killer.
Yeah, dig it.
I mean, I hate to sound cliche, but it's AC/DC. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the one thing. AC/DC
does what it
is
says
so
on the tin,
safe.
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And every time I'm in Target, I think about buying that Target deluxe package that comes with a T-shirt, but they only sell a large. They only do it with a large T-shirt, and I haven't fit in large since I was 12. So
I gave mine to Mike Dawson from the Adam Carolla Show, who you're gonna hear in a brand new bit that we have is starting now. And I'm not even going to tell you guys what it is, but it's fucking hilarious.
One of the things that I thought is interesting about the fascinating, and I remember writing about this on Instagram back on the anniversary of the release about Back in Black, is just how quickly that album came about, and that's just it's insane. I mean, to think about, like I said, I manage a band that lost their singer, so I know the depths that bands get to after that happens, and it's just fascinating to me that literally in a 6-month window that they went from 0 to that album being released.
Do you know the story? Do you know the story about? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but do you know the story about how Brian got in the band? Have you ever heard the story about how he got in the band? It's really cool.
Tell the story. I'm pretty sure I do, but tell it. Yeah.
Yeah. And first, I'm gonna say that the best thing about this new album is it puts the world back in its place. Everything's back in its proper order now, with Brian being back in the singer slot, because it was never supposed to be any other way. Because again, I'm glad that I'm proud for all of them, and so especially Brian. So Brian had played in a band called Geordie, and Geordie had a lot of regional success over in the UK and such, and he'd really given it a shot, being a wife and a kid and that kind of thing, and it seemed like it had run its course. So he came off the road and was going to get a proper job, and he was putting vinyl tops on convertible cars, and that he was doing that kind of work. And his agent was calling saying, this AC/DC guys want you to come down and audition with them. And he goes, no, I'm fucking done. I'm sticking with my job. I've got to stay focused. And he turned down the audition a couple of times. Finally, his agent calls him back and says, hey, Hoover Vacuum Cleaners want you to come and sing a jingle. And it pays, £100 or whatever, and so Brian was like, well, I guess I'll go down and sing the jingle if I can make a little money. The guy says, well, while you're down there, why don't you go ahead and audition for the band? And so you can actually go online and Google and find Brian Johnson's Hoover, and he sings a damn vacuum cleaner. Come on, and it's online. So anyway, he goes down and he goes into the studio where they're rehearsing, and he doesn't know any of their damn songs. And so they stood around and talked for a minute, and they ended up jamming on Nutbush City Limits. And they jammed on Nutbush City Limits. They did a good long version of that. And they get through, and Brian says, well, thanks for the singing, me son. And, guys, I'll see you later. And they're going, no, wait a minute. So they did it again. They jammed on Nutbush again. And so then they ended up wrapping it up. And then he went back home. And it was like a week or so goes by. And he got a phone call from Malcolm, and he's talking to him and stuff. And they just chatted for a bit. And then it went on a little bit longer. And then it went on a little bit longer. And Brian finally says, Mal, are you asking me to be in the band? And when you talk to Malcolm Marangus, they were about like little Tasmanian devils. If you ever had a conversation with them, they were like, so him and Malcolm made the comment, and he asked, "Are you asking me to be in the band?" And Malcolm, and they summed it up on that call. But it's a great story about how it almost didn't happen had it not been for Hoover Vacuum Cleaners.
All right, hold on.
Jesse, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, please go ahead, Ricky.
I want to ask Jesse a question. Jesse, you might be able to tell me if there's any truth in this rumor. Did they approach, before Brian got the gig, did they approach Noddy Holder from Slade? Was that their first choice before Brian?
I wish I could answer that because I've heard that rumor as well.
Yeah,
that's been around for a good long time. I don't know that side of the story, and I don't even know if Brian knows that side of the story because because he just and I've just had I've been friends with Brian for a really long time, and so I've gotten to hear things from his point of view. And I was with them in the studio. You know, I've been around the band quite a bit, and I was in the studio with them when they recorded the Black Ice tour. And I went up to Vancouver, and I spent a week with them up in Vancouver. And you know, Brendan O'Brien, who's been producing this, he did our first album, on Jackyl's first album, and I'm proud to say that one of my little claims to fame is I gave Brendan O'Brien his first gold record for producing. You know, because he went on to be like the God's gift to producers. And but I'm really proud of it. I used to sneak into bars back in the late 70s. I would sneak into bars when I was 15 years of age into underground Atlanta, which was a really, really, you know, shoddy underground seedy place. And I used to sneak in down there and watch Brendan O'Brien play guitar in a band called Pranks. And and I always knew there's something special about him. And I always kept up with his career. And years later, when we were trying to find, you know, who was going to produce our album, I wanted Mutt Lange and all the, you know, Jack Douglas and all these guys I'd heard about. And John Kalodner says, "No, you need to find the new Mutt Lange." And I suggested Brendan, and he goes, "Who's Brendan?" I said, "Well, I don't know him, but I think he's going to be big." And it was a really strange. It's a lot more to the story, but then again, ultimately, when I got to be friends with Brian and all them, I was obviously screaming that they should work with Brendan. And I'm really proud to see that they ended up working with Brendan on the last, you know, couple, 3 records. And he does a great job with them. And, you know, between Brendan, they're in good hands. And of course, we'll get back to Back in Black. You know, that was such a moment in time because, you know, that it wasn't only the band, which coming from a big underdog position with losing Bond, but they also had a moment in time where Mutt Lange's balls were dropping. I mean, the producer, Mutt Lange, I mean, he was finding his footing at that point, like in a big way. And if you listen from that Back in Black album forward, if you listen, that snare drum sound and all of those tricks to get those amazing vocals, he used them again on all the Def Leppard stuff. He used them on all the Bryan Adams stuff, the Shania Twain stuff. I mean, that's all Mutt Lange. I mean, if you listen, you know, they're all a playbook right out of Mutt Lange's playbook.
Oh God, I found it. All right, here we go. And the people listening at home live right now will be able to hear this too.
Wow.
I can't believe that's real.
Dude,
wow.
I'm buying a Hoover. I'm buying a Hoover.
Well,
wait a minute. Did Izzy thought I was fucking lying to?
No. I didn't believe you. I didn't think you were lying, but I equated, Jesse, I equated to this. I met this gal who I've been talking to online for 12 years last Friday, and she's real. And when she like jumped on me, I go, "Oh my God, you're real." It's the exact same thing. It's like, except she's hotter. Let's do this. First half of the show brought to you by Beater Amplification. That's 2 E's. BeaterAmplification.com. If you look right behind me, you can kind of see that sumbitch right there. Hand-wired, hand-built, 100 watts of testicular fortitude, 3 channels. You get your old school AC/DC tone, old school Kiss Metallica tone, and that old school clean-ass Fender tone. These things are so fucking badass. They're fucking amazing. BeaterAmplification.com. Also hit them up on Facebook, and the Izzy Presley TCB1 is available whenever the fuck you want them to build you one. And our good friends over at Mackie, you want to get into home recording, you want to get into podcasting, a very affordable way to do it with their studio bundles. Man, less than $500, you get a microphone. Christ, less than $300, you get a microphone, get a little interface. Boom, you are good to go. Mackie, MACKIE.com. So before we get into the actual throwdown, which we'll get into in a little bit here, how hard is this for you guys? Because I mean, obviously these are 2 super iconic albums, and it's like, how the fuck do you choose? Then you go, you know, track versus track. How hard was this to even start thinking about?
Picking your favorite kid.
Yeah, I mean, it actually wasn't as hard for me as I thought it was going to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be, I have a clear-cut favorite of the 2 records, and I thought when I pitted them against each other, it might be harder than I thought it was going to be, given the nature of both albums, but it actually wasn't, and it worked out surprisingly to me, the way I thought it would.
Well, that's it then, Rob. That's fucking show's over.
No,
Well done.
That's just me personally. But it's interesting because when we did the Bon Jovi Def Leppard one a couple episodes ago, that was the first one that Izzy and I did together. We were fully expecting it to be a bloodbath in one direction. We expected, and it was actually a bloodbath in the opposite direction. And it's really interesting when you pit the songs against each other. It kind of throws everything you think about the records out the window, because all of a sudden you're going, well, that song's up against that song, and it kind of skews everything. And I really thought I was going to end up this time having the album I didn't like as much win, but I was really surprised it did not work out that way for me. It was consistent.
When you sent me over the track list to compare them, the tracks, track 1 to track 1, track 2 to track 2. As soon as I looked at it, I went, okay, actually for me, it's easy as well. It's a lot easier. That when you first mentioned the concept to me, I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be a monkey. But ever since once you sent me that list, it's pretty cut and dry for me as well, as far as track to track.
Yeah.
Ooh. Whoa. It was easy for him. Interesting.
I'm curious because heading into this, I would have expected now, and I've had a couple people like Scott Ian. I remember last week, I was like, the minute Izzy threw it out that he wanted to do AC/DC this week, I said, I got to reach out to Scott Ian because Scott's a huge AC/DC fan. Scott got back to me today, even though I emailed him last week, and he gave me his opinion. And a couple of musicians that I'm friends with have, like, just on Instagram and stuff, told me, I kind of was expecting going into this that it was going to be a bloodbath in one direction, and I'm kind of curious now because I think I might be completely wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Rob, was this hard for you?
It wasn't. I mean,
I think from the way you described getting Back in Black for the very first time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the record definitely had a huge impact on me, but so did Highway to Hell.
Right.
They're both obviously monumental records.
Right. Do you think one of them is more important than the other one?
Well, I mean, important. I'm not really sure if that's the right way to describe it, but
iconic, maybe.
I mean, they're both iconic.
Right.
Both of those records are iconic. I mean, as far as like success, obviously, we all know what happened when Back in Black came out.
Right.
It's one of the biggest records of all time. So, but Highway to Hell is also a very big record. So, yeah, I mean, they're both amazing albums. The only way I can, talk about it or vote on it or whatever you want to call it, we're pitting these two albums against each other.
Yeah.
But, there is one record that definitely had more of an impact on me, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Did anybody?
The other thing, just taking this back to like the band we always use as the litmus for a lot of this is Kiss. And I think I also expect there to be a little bit, if you talk to like diehard Kiss fans, if you're talking to a casual Kiss fan, they're going to always gravitate towards like Love Gun and Destroyer. If you talk to a diehard Kiss fan, they're not going to gravitate towards towards Destroyer and Love Gun. And that I think is a case here too. I think the obvious choice is Back in Black. I mean, that's the album. When you ask about impact, I'll say it, and not as a musician, just as a writer, as a observer of the industry. I mean, there's not another album in music really in hard rock that had the impact Back in Black had.
Right.
I mean, maybe Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, Dark Side of the Moon, but that's not really hard rock. I mean, Back in Black is as iconic as they come.
Yep.
But does that mean it's a better record? It's definitely the more important record. That's sales wise, period. You know what I mean? I mean,
you mean to tell me that Back in Black is more important than the Tough debut album?
I thought you were going to say Ace Frehley, Second Sighting. So
well, no, we all know that this one is the most important Ace Frehley record. But anyways, did anybody here get to see? Well, Rob, obviously not you because you're a little bit younger in the tooth. But either of you guys get to see Bon? No.
First time I saw AC/DC was Blow Up Your Video.
Yeah, I didn't get. I haven't even seen AC/DC live.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It's a bucket list thing, is I want to see it, but did anybody get to see the Axl DC?
I was on tour with a couple of my bands, and I sat in the front lounge of one of the buses, and we had a cell phone that we held up, and we were listening to a bootleg stream of Axl's show in the front lounge of the bus, because it was the only place we had cell reception wherever we were. It was San Francisco, and literally, because of where we were, we didn't have cell service, and it was literally, we sat there just with like the phone out, and we're listening to the Axl one. I thought he did a decent job. You know, it was for what it was. I agree with everything Jesse said. We needed Brian back, but Axl really held the fort. Axl held the fort down, and he did it justice. And I will say this also. I saw. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, and we went to see Billy Joel, I think 2 years ago. The last time he played Dodger Stadium, and it was Reek and I ended up. We were backstage. We went to get a drink, and we ended up backstage, and there was a set list posted on the wall, and it said "Highway to Hell," Axl next to it, and we just looked at each other, and our mouths dropped, because there was not even a clue that Axl was even. I mean, Axl barely shows up at Guns N' Roses shows, and sure enough, Billy Joel breaks into "Highway to Hell," and Axl came out. It was insane. I was just like, ah. So that was the closest I got to seeing AC/DC with Axl, was seeing Billy Joel with Axl do "Highway to Hell."
Jesse, what were your thoughts on that?
On Axl, Axl, you know, he got, personally, I would rather them have just given Brian a couple of weeks and come back out.
Right.
But I was with them the last show that they played, that Brian sang with them, which was in Missouri, and there was a lot going on, you know, around all that, and so when all of that's what happened so fast was Axl getting back out there with them, and again. He got them through what Angus wanted to get through, but I'm really, thank God he didn't record an album with them. For me personally, I think he left well enough alone, and he can hang that on his wall, that he sang with two of the hugest bands in the world, with biggest band with Guns N' Roses and with AC/DC. But thank God he left that alone, because the world is back in order now, as it should be.
I'm not gonna lie, I would be very interested to hear what Axl DC record would sound like. I really would, but who knows? Maybe it's because I'm a ginger and he's a ginger. I don't know. Who knows? Harry Hummus is in the chat room, and Harry is a listener, a very loyal listener, and I am doing this thing. If you are a listener and you want to be part of one of these summits, bribery gets you everywhere. I always said, for $100 as a listener, you can be part of one of these summits. It's happened before, and we are going to do an Iron Maiden one, because the great Harry Hummus has bought me a brand new Minnesota Wild retro throwback sweater, which has not arrived yet, which is why we haven't done the show. But bribery gets you everywhere, kids. Let's do this. Let's take a short 2-minute little break. You guys have to go through
just a little. Let me cut you off for a second, one second, because God, I need the 2-minute break right now. However, while the first half was going on, Scott Ian emailed me and threw out an idea for an Iron Maiden episode.
Ooh,
just saying. Like
it. All right, so we're gonna take a 2-minute.
Not saying that'll be the one, but.
Who knows? We'll figure it out. We got Ricky Warwick, we got Rob Caggiano, we got James Dupree, and of course my cohort in mentalness. I think that's what it is. It's mentalness. Paul Gargano.
And mental inebriation.
We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds with the Throwdown, round number 2, Highway to Hell versus Back in Black. It is another fucking podcast.
Vinny Tortorich here. Hey man, if you're a fan of Izzy, you might be a fan of me too. I'm the guy that gets people to lose a lot of weight. I have something free for you guys. This is no clickbait. Just go to vinnytortorich.com and there's a big banner. It's a free PDF, how to lose weight. It's an intro guide to NSNG at vinnytortorich.com. Go check it out exclusively for anyone who listens to Izzy Presley. Thank you.
RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out rockstarleatherworks.com.
Hey ladies, Sass Pants Designs will take that band shirt that everyone has and make it your own in a flattering, sassy, and simple way. There are one-of-a-kind tank tops, halter tops, lace-up tees, and tube-top dresses already in stock. Check out the online store at sasspantsrocks.com and like Sass Pants Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for special offers and custom orders. Use the code IZZY25 for 25% off of your entire order at sasspantsrocks.com. That's sasspantsrocks.com. Let Sass Pants make you the envy of the party.
Rockwood Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood Graphics Department can design anything from your logo, t-shirt design, promo posters, band swag, and printed at great prices. From tour shirts and custom stage gear to killer threads for the street to the stage, Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com. That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
A reading from the Book of Paul, verse Animalize, chapter Under the Gun. Yeah, there's no speed limit where I'm coming from. Let's hit the highway, doing 69. Praise be to Paul.
God bless Mike Dawson from the Adam Carolla Show. That is fucking hilarious.
That is awesome.
Second half of the show brought to you by A&P Laser. You need something laser engraved, like a sidearm or anything, hit up our good friends at aplaser.com. Shout out to Ryan Oz Klein, who had a minor stroke. He's doing fine. He's on the mend. And support them. Just hit the website, get something laser engraved that you absolutely love. And our good friend John Palumbo. We love us some John Palumbo. You have a band, you have a website, you need a logo, you need anything done, hit up John Palumbo, johnpalumbodesign.com. All right, it is time for the throwdown. We are going track versus track as soon as Paul gets back.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh,
that's the nice thing about being mobile. I'm coming back.
Jesse has a hard out. So what we're going to do, we're going to let Jesse do the very beginning part, and we're going to get his track versus track at the very top.
And then, well, why don't we, yeah. All right. Do we want to, or we could just go, let's go. And then when Jesse's got to go with like a couple minutes to go, we'll let him give us the end.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, Jesse, you just give us the head.
What makes more sense to you guys? Letting Jesse do all of his first, or
don't let me disrupt you. Do it the way you normally do.
Okay. Whatever works for you, Jesse. I'm cool either way.
It doesn't matter, man. It's all good.
It's all good.
Let's start it with all of us, and then
you're making me feel like an asshole.
No, absolutely not.
No, dude, business is business, man.
Absolutely. I'll follow your lead. Go do.
So first one. So we're gonna start Jesse's. We'll have Jesse start for all of these, and we're just gonna keep the order to make it simple. I'm gonna go in the order it's looking on mine. It'll go Jesse, then Ricky, then Rob, then me and Izzy. So we'll start with Jesse for track one. Highway to Hell versus Hell's Bells.
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell.
Hold on before we. I hate doing this. I was gonna ask this in the beginning of the show. From the very first bell, can you tell that it's Hell's Bells and not For Whom the Bell Tolls?
I can.
Yes. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can.
All right, cool.
All right.
Yeah, definitely Highway to Hell for the first time. Against Hell's Bells. Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's a reason why they closed the show out.
Wait, I thought Hell's Bells was the first track of the second side.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Don't look at the back cover of the vinyl. Back cover of the vinyl is not in sequence.
Gotcha.
Don't forget, huge vinyl nerd. You're not throwing the vinyl over me. So Hell's Bells, Highway to Hell is the first, is the real sequencing.
Okay.
All right. So Ricky.
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell. Rob?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Highway to Hell as well.
We're running the gamut. I'm Highway to Hell. Let's see if Izzy.
I mean, they're both so good. It could be a coin toss. But dude, Highway. Highway to Hell.
This isn't even.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
Close for me.
It is close for me because both of those fucking songs are just fucking amazing. But Highway to
Hell. Okay. That's not surprising to me at all. That Highway to Hell won all those, but that song to me is just almost quintessential AC/DC. It's track number 2, Girls Got Rhythm versus Shoot to Thrill.
Shoot to Thrill, hands down for me. Just that you were there, you saw us jam that song with Brian that time, and when you got 10,000 people in front of you going, I mean, it just God Almighty, damn. Shoot to Thrill.
All right, Ricky.
Shoot to Thrill, absolutely. I mean, both those songs got a similar vibe in the chorus going on, but Thrill just does it for me.
That's true.
Rob,
my turn. I'm gonna also go with Shoot the Thrill. Yep.
Wow.
I was just looking at getting reacquainted with the running order for Highway to Hell again.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Shoot the Thrill for sure.
I'm gonna be the lone dissent here. I don't know if I'm gonna be the lone dissent, but I don't know where Izzy's going. But I'm going Girls Got Rhythm. For me, there's a musicality to Highway to Hell that just keeps sucking me back in. It's not as heavy, it's not as hard, it's not as powerful at times, but man, it's just got a sexiness and swagger to it, and that's Girl Got Rhythm. That one, that's why I picked that one there.
Samesies. You said exactly what I was gonna say. There's a swagger about Girls Got Rhythm that is just so fucking cool.
And it's going to be a reoccurring theme with me because I had we done the same exact exercise 3 years ago, I probably would have had a completely different results. But I've become twice the AC/DC fan I ever was, and it's that I've just been so sucked into the Bon Scott world as of late. So, but track 3, Walk All Over You, and what do you do for money, honey?
Walk All Over You.
Walk All Over. Okay,
that's mine.
Ricky.
Yeah, I'm with Jesse again. Walk All Over You.
Rob?
Yeah, this is a hard one for me, but I'm gonna probably go Walk All Over You as well.
I'm Walk All Over You.
Yeah. Funny story about Walk All Over You. We did the cruiser jam on the boat on the Monsters of Rock cruise a couple years ago, and it was AC/DC. And when the cruisers were playing Walk All Over You, fucking Jeff Keith from Tesla was walking by to go throw a whiz, and he said, "Fuck this," and he ran up on stage because it's his favorite AC/DC song and sang with the fucking cruisers. So badass.
Awesome.
So yeah, Walk All Over You. It's Walk All Over You.
All right. Track number 4. And if anyone has anything they want to add, feel free.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure.
So track number 4, Touch Too Much versus Giving the Dog a Bone.
Touch Too Much.
Touch Too Much. Ricky?
Touch Too Much is one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time.
It's a great song.
It's just amazing in every way.
Bond was singing at the top of his register on that one, and you can tell it reminds me of the old, a lot of the old Stax recordings back in the late 60s. The producers would purposefully take the pitch of the key of the song. They would keep taking it up until the singers could just barely get the note because they wanted that sense of desperation to get to it. They wanted that urgency to hit that note, and that song just naturally had Bond going for it, and because it's up there for him,
Rob,
Next is that me? I'm gonna go also with Touch Too Much.
I knew you were cool.
I'm Touch Too Much is probably my favorite AC/DC song. And it's Jason Christopher from Corey Taylor's band. He said his comment was, "If you don't pick Highway to Hell, we'll never be friends again." And I asked him if that was a promise or a threat, and he said it's the promise of a threat or the threat of a promise. I'm not sure how he brought it, but it was. He goes for that song alone, Touch Too Much. He goes, that album, I like that album more. But I love this record.
It's
I love
so
that album.
good. It's so good, and I will cheers to Touch Too Much, which unfortunately is not the Jesse James Dupree whiskey, but will be soon. I cannot wait.
I got you. It's what we call Liquid America.
I can't wait. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Good health.
So just for the record, Jesse, when you send it out, I need some too. And Ricky just happens to live a couple blocks from me, so I could bring him a bottle also.
Just send me a fucking case and we'll split them up.
We'll split it.
All right.
The last time I was at Ricky's house, I think I drank a bottle of whatever he had, so I owe him one. So
give me the address and we'll get it taken care of.
Thank you, Jesse.
You will have West Coast. You will have West Coast ambassadors.
Listen to us. We turn from fucking the typical journalist, dude. Yeah, just send me a CD, man. That'd be great. Send me a case of whiskey.
We'll do the before and after pictures as well, and
I love it.
Yeah, it's called the Drunken Summit for a reason.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna like it because we put the equivalent of 5 Viagras in every bottle. So.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you.
So I'll like it, and my wife will hate it.
Oh, hold on. That's
just when you drop Ricky's bottle off, run.
Oh, what do we got next there, Paulie?
All right, track 5, end of side A. If you're listening on vinyl, Beating Around the Bush, or Let Me Put My Love Into You, babe.
Let me put my love into you.
Love into you.
Yeah. Let me put my
love into you, babe.
You're going? Is that your pick?
That's my pick.
That's your pick.
Viagra.
Yeah, exactly right.
This was a toughie, man, for me. I think this is the one the 2 tracks I kind of struggle with the most, because the guitar riff for Beating Around the Bush is just so fucking epic. But Let Me Put My Love Into You just has something that, I don't know.
It's evil. It's evil.
Yeah, I think that's it, Jesse. Yeah. Thank you.
Is it evil or is it rapey?
It's just speaking his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesse,
when you were allowed to speak your mind.
That should be the tagline in the fucking advertising. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Robert.
I'm definitely going to go with Let Me Put My Love Into You.
Thank you very much. That's a good one.
These really cool, or these sexual innuendos are all over the AC/DC stuff, and this is probably like one of the most classic ones, I think, lyrically. But it's a great song.
This was one of the 2 hardest for me, and I went with Beating Around the Bush. I think it's just, to me, it's another just Bond just carries this one for me. There's a swing to the song. And again, it's that like the pure power of Let Me Put My Love Into You. I just feel like there's a little bit more of a swing to Beating Around the Bush. And I just feel like it hits at another level. It connects with me at another level. I don't know if that's even rapier. I don't know. But but yeah, up until this point, it's all Highway to Hell for me. First 5.
I have to go with Let Me Put My Love Into You. It's just, that has swagger.
Mm-hmm. It's dirty, sleazy rock and roll right there.
Fuck yeah, baby.
It is.
Fuck yeah. All right. So
all right,
move on to side
flipping
2.
Flipping to side 2. We got Shot Down in Flames versus Back in Black.
Okay, now I want you to stop and think about what you just said, because you're talking about some downright confidence, let your balls drop, goddamn swagger, arrogance, if you will. You put fucking on halfway through the album. You
Yeah.
drop goddamn Back in Black.
Seriously.
You don't lead the album off with it. It's not even in the first couple of songs. You wait till number 6. Like that's like walking into an orgy with a 14-inch dick. I mean, that's so back in Black. I love Shot Down in Flames, but Back in Black, Back in Black, Back in Black.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you even have to ask? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you take the past 60 years of rock and roll and pick any song, and I'd have a hard job telling you that it would beat Back in Black. It's one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written in the history of the world. Amen. End of story. Thank you. Good night.
God damn it, Jesse! You just did a swig, so that means I have to do another shot. It starts out with a couple beers, and you turn into Sebastian Bach. Dude, there was Jack Daniels and cocaine. Rob, go ahead. Sorry, but
yeah, for me, there's no comparison. For me, it's Back in Black all the way.
Yeah,
it's the most evil. It's the most evil fucking rock and roll groove I've ever
heard. I love Shot Down in Flames. Love it, but Back in Black, not even close. It's Back in Black. Yeah.
Right on.
Jeff Road checking in says Jesse is awesome, but those two songs are like weather. Both are perfect. Okay. What do we got?
So you're Back in Black also, right, Izzy?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
It's a Zach Morris no-brainer.
Number 7, Get It Hot, and You Shook Me All Night Long.
You shook me all night long, and I'll give you a little bit of trivia. The story that Brian told me was that they were working. There's two bit parts to this story, an A and a B part. The A part is they were working on this album, and they had this riff, and he was working it up, but he came up with the lyric for "You Shook Me All Night Long" because they went and did the album down in the islands, down in where was help me out, Ricky? Where did they do that?
Was it Montserrat?
No,
was it Montserrat?
Was it like St. Thomas or
no? Bahamas. Wasn't it the Bahamas? No,
Bahamas.
Bahamas?
I think Bahamas. Yeah, Bahamas.
Cancun or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, they did, and Brian got down there, and they were eating some of that island food, and he got diarrhea, and so he came in the studio, and he had been sitting on the toilet all night. He goes, "Oh, it shook me all night long." And, but that's where "You Shook Me All Night Long" came from, was from him sitting on the toilet with diarrhea.
Jesus Christ!
Wow.
And but so anyway, so then they laid it down, and it was in halftime from what they had done it, and Brian got in with working with Mutt, and they ended up double timing it with the way he was singing it, the chorus, and it ended up being a point of contention between him and Mao about what it should get left, and I guess Mutt ended up being the deciding vote and won out for it to be like,
wow.
But, Shook Me All Night Long. I mean, you go back up to the top of the Highway to Hell album, and You Shook Me All Night Long, you would think would have been the first song on this album going up against Highway to Hell, because those are both staple songs,
Yeah.
But You Shook Me All Night Long is to me is the better between that and Get It Hot.
Another little tidbit on the diarrhea. I was thinking of naming my country band the Whiskey Shits. So,
Whiskey Shit.
I'll get you a lot of airplay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be fun to book. And it was, by the way, it was Compass Point Studios in Nassau, Bahamas.
Bahamas,
that's where they were recording. Yeah.
I guess the story is that when they were like done recording, Brian's like, "I'm gonna have to find another fucking job," because he didn't think it was gonna do anything.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing that it went on. I mean, it not only did great. I mean, it's quadruple diamond or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I went cardboard.
Are we? Is everybody Shook Me All Night Long? Is this?
You shook me all night long. I mean, just for the line working double time on the seduction line. I mean, it's what a fucking killer line, man. It's just it's a great. It's an amazing song.
Rob.
Hands down.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah, I mean, I'm a hands down with this. This is in Get It Hot is like the throwaway track on that album for me. That one can go away off that album. It's my 10th track. Let's put it that way. A funny thing, it took me all night long. I went to an all-guys Jesuit high school. We picked that as our prom theme, and the priest wouldn't let us have it. So it ended up being Wonderful Tonight from Clapton instead.
I love that song.
At least you tried.
We tried. So let's do we want to let's let Jesse roll through the last three so he can be out of here on time, okay? So we got If You Want Blood versus Have a Drink on Me, Jesse.
Well, I mean, I can make it really. I mean, for me, between If You Want Blood, you got it, and Have a Drink. That's a toughie, and I realize that may split the panel here, but because they're both really great songs. And I mean, like that's probably out of the whole album, those two compared to me were the ones that I struggled with. But I'm going to go. But I'm going to go with Have a Drink on Me, just because I love playing that riff myself. It's one of the riff when I pick a guitar up. I mean, I often will play the Have a Drink, the intro to Have a Drink on Me. So I'm going to lean toward that one. But it's no disrespect to If You Want Blood, because I think they're both equally. That's probably those are the two toss-ups for me on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the rest of the record, it's Shake a Leg and Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. I just think, again, Back in Black for me, and I'll say this in summarizing the album for me, Back in Black, what sums it up is they put Back in Black and Shook Me All Night Long and Have a Drink on Me and let me put all that stuff wasn't even at the top of the playlist. I mean, they put it down in, this beginning side with just the overall, just cocksure badass, my balls are bigger than yours attitude. That, I mean, with being able to do that with a record. So the last three, I'm going to go with all Back in Black. And again, I'm proud to look back and see that I like the Bond stuff, the songs that I picked, but it does for me. Back in Black is the favorite.
All right.
So
is that what so you knew that going in? That's where you were going to be?
Well, I mean, when you sent the list to me, I went down. I mean, it was the only thing I struggled with.
You texted back quickly, and you were like, "I got it."
yeah. Seriously, the only ones that I struggled with was If You Want Blood, or and I'll tell you what I really love about If You Want Blood. Remember, you guys probably remember, Ricky and Rob. You guys definitely probably remember that with the album cover with the guitar through through his chest bleeding and stuff. And I looked up to see one of my Brian from one of my birthdays a couple of years ago. Brian sent me.
Holy
wow!
Shit.
How fucking cool is that?
Fucking amazing.
High voltage, and it's his. I mean, you see that it was.
Wow.
See that it was his, and he wrote me a nice little letter at the top, and I thought, you know what? How convenient. Instead of going shopping for me, the motherfucker just puts an album off his wall because he's got so goddamn many of them. but yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But guys, listen, it's been an honor to be on the show with you guys and Rob and,
thank you, Jesse.
and Ricky. It's good to meet both you guys through the panel here. And you can label me an asshole, but I've got to. I didn't think that it was going to last an hour. I thought that
all good. It's all good.
We'll all see you at Sturgis. You owe us a drink at Sturgis.
Please come to Sturgis, and I'll make it up to you. I promise. Give me the address, and I'll send you some Jesse James bourbon.
You got it.
And Paul, thanks for thinking of me, guys. It's so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And Jesse, we'll have you on. We'll do a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 That sounds funky. But we'll get you on.
Yeah.
I got Ricky, Rob. Again, it was an honor to be on the panel with you guys, and I apologize for being that asshole, but I do have to.
You're not.
It's all good.
It's all good, Jesse.
All good.
Take care,
Thank
bro.
Bye, Jesse.
So
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
God bless you guys. All right. See you.
Night.
All
right.
So
is it me? If you want blood, have a drink on me.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Man, I'm gonna go with If You Want Blood, just because If You Want Blood, it's such a great title. The way I look at it, I mean, Jesse's obviously gone now, but I've never met Brian, and obviously I never met Bond, but I think Brian comes across as the guy that you would sit in a bar all night with and have a drink with, and he'd be great company and really, really funny, and he would make sure you would get home at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I think Bond, you would sit in a bar with, and you'd have a drink with, and he'd be really, really funny. At the end of the night, he'd want to fight you.
Yeah, no.
So for that reason alone, I'm going to go with If You Want Blood.
That's actually an amazing way to put it, because I kind of feel I kind of feel the same way about a lot of these songs, and it's interesting. It's so funny. I don't mind saying things when we're on with Dave Ellefson, and I don't mind talking about Megadeth, but I felt bad saying stuff about Back in Black, knowing how much like Jesse and Brian. I'm just like, well, I don't want to say anything mean. I kind of, for me personally, I feel like part of Back in Black feels a little rushed to me. Like, and I know I never really felt that before, like the past week or so, listening to the album over and over again. And it's not Brian. I feel like the music, I almost feel like when they lost Bon, they kind of just, the music just became a little bit more maybe two-dimensional instead of three-dimensional. And this track is a great example where if you want Blood to Me, they just, and I think the best example was when you say the powerful vocal versus just the silky swagger vocal of Bon. I feel like maybe the band just, they played a little bit differently. You know, the songs to me just, they aren't the same on Back in Black. And that doesn't make them any less, like it doesn't make Hysteria a worse record than Pyromania. It was much, much bigger. They were just a different band after everything they went through. And it doesn't make, they're such amazing albums. I just really felt like this was the line in the sand for AC/DC, where all of a sudden they became a more two-dimensional. We're just going to punch you in the face, and we're not going to worry about like telling you we're sorry afterwards.
Got it. Yeah, no, well said.
But I'm actually with Ricky on that one also. If You Want Blood was my pick.
Yeah, me
Rob.
too. So we went from a five-some to the cover of Kiss Dynasty now.
Yeah, exactly. who am I? I don't know who I am on yours.
All right,
Rob,
so
what was your pick? Rob, what was your pick on that one?
I mean, I love both of those songs. This is I would probably say this is the hardest toss-up for me. I'm just gonna have to go with the song that had the most impact on me over the years, and it's definitely Have a Drink on Me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been drunk listening to that song, but
I'll cheers my Bush Light to that. All right.
But I mean, If You Want Blood, I mean, the two AC/DC albums that had the most impact for me are Back in Black and the live album, If You Want Blood, You Got It.
Ooh,
yeah.
That record to me, that is the ultimate fucking live record. I mean, I haven't heard a record beat that as far as live albums go. But of course, I love the song, but I just think Have a Drink on Me is just more of an influence on me, I guess.
I'm a blood guy. I'm a fucking blood guy, man.
That was actually my hardest one also. That was the hardest for me.
Yeah.
All right. Move on. I'm gonna go pee because my bladder's gonna explode and I'm old.
That's what you're supposed to do during the 2-minute break, old man. But okay.
Running the show.
Song 9.
I'm not that far behind him. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, right.
It's that over 50s thing we got going on, right?
Yeah. Exactly. As I'm on my second coffee of this call with like liquor added to it. Number 9 is Love Hungry Man versus Shake a Leg.
Love Hungry Man, just because of Cliff's bass line on this, it's the groove and the feel of it. It's just, I just love it. Just love it. Simple as that.
Yep. Rob?
I'm gonna definitely go Shake a Leg. It's one of my favorite riffs that they've ever done, actually.
This was another really tough one for me. I went Love Hungry Man, and I feel like Shake a Leg, I love the riff in Shake a Leg, but I felt like Love Hungry Man's just more of a song, like the more complete song to me, personally. So I went Love Hungry Man on that one. I probably should have tried to fill more airtime because Izzy's not back yet.
Well, it's so tough. I mean, you know what Rob was saying, that the riff and Shake a Leg's unbelievable. I mean, being a lyric guy and Bond's little nuances and little innuendos, that's what kind of shades it for me, you know.
Yeah.
On Love Hungry Man, because he's got that old kind of almost old school British innuendo comedy shtick going on, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's so tough. It's so tough to try and separate any of
and it's,
you know,
and it's so hard because they're both every song's amazing. You know, every song, there's a couple I don't love, but I mean, they're both amazing albums. So you're like you said, it's like picking kids at this point.
Yeah.
At a concert, I'm going to be thrilled for all of these, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, again, you know, obviously Cliff is Cliff Williams is so understated, but he's holding that just single note bass thing down so well that he does, and the groove with Phil. And they give him a little bit of freedom here, and he's actually getting a little bit funky,
Yeah.
within the AC/DC constraints. And I just, you're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's a little bit sort of different, and I wasn't expecting that. So I guess that's one of the reasons I went with Love Hungry Man.
Izzy.
Love Hungry Man.
Love Hungry Man. All right.
Yes.
So track 10, we have Night Prowler versus Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution.
How close is it right now? You don't have to give you don't have to like say the exact amount, but is it close?
Got to be.
It's got to be really close.
It's close, but it's not very close.
Okay.
I think it's. I don't think this song makes a difference.
Okay.
Let me look. I take that back. This song could make a difference. It's very close. It's very close right now.
Mr. Warwick. Mr. Warwick.
All right. I'm going to go with Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. To me, there's not much contest between this and Night Prowler. Night Prowler is a good song, but it's just it's kind of just a 12-bar bluesy kind of thing. And it's cool and it's great and I love it. Don't get me wrong. But Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution is a statement of intent.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, and what a great way to close the record. I mean, it's again, that does not have to be the last track on the album. That could be anywhere in the first 4 on that record and still be totally cool.
Well, what's weird? It's like it's because when you do these throwdowns like this, where the songs are on the album really matters, because if you switch the track listing, that could change the outcome of the throwdown.
Oh, totally, yeah, absolutely,
yeah. Rob, what about you?
Hands down, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution.
Hey, it's the Zach Morris no-brainer.
Yeah,
which is the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind.
It's an incredible song.
I concur.
God, you know what? I'm going. This to me, this was. I love the groove on Night Prowler, and there's probably a little bit of. I was obsessed with serial killers as a kid, so there was a little bit of the whole myth around the song of Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and whether he was inspired by AC/DC. And this was one of the really dangerous songs, and I always felt this song. I totally get what you're saying about how simple it is, because it does, and I feel like they did the song all over again with Ride On. I mean, I feel like this is I love Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, but I gravitate to Night Prowler. I just feel like the groove on Night Prowler is just, it sucks me in every time, and it's got that history with me. So I'm a Highway to Hell.
So do we have a final decision?
Well, it depends what your vote is, and then we have a final decision.
It's Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution.
I am fairly certain.
Okay, hold on. I have a new feature for us. As you are going to read it, 9 seconds.
Oh, hold on, I'm not done yet.
Oh.
Are you ready? Are you ready? First of all,
hold on. Let me hear it again. You'll never see me go this fast between takes ever again, ladies.
It's a tie.
No, my God, King. My God, we have a tie, King.
So the tiebreaker, I feel like the tiebreaker, I told Scott Ian that he could have the tiebreaker.
I already know.
If we want a tiebreaker,
I already know what
Scott says. What's he gonna say, Rob?
He's gonna say Highway to Hell.
He said Highway to Hell. That's exactly what he said. His exact was. These albums, as great as Back in Black is, it's not Bon Scott. The tougher comparison for me would be Power Age and Highway to Hell. So that was if we're looking for a tiebreaker, that would be the tiebreaker.
My God, King, that is the tiebreaker. That means that round number 2 goes to Highway to Hell, King, and 1 month in 1 month, we are going to revisit this, and it is handed down from Leo DeRocha that it will be in a steel cage, King. My God, it is going to be the final throwdown, 2 out of 3 in a steel cage, Highway to Hell versus Back in Black, one more time, King, with a whole new panel. So, sorry.
Did you just have an aneurysm or
Yes.
a stroke? What just happened there? My God.
I had a Jim Ross.
Wow.
Oh
I'm glad I
my
never.
God.
I'm glad I glad I never ate that edible before you went into that.
Yeah.
Right. So Rob and Jesse both were 7-3 Back in Black. Ricky, you were a split. You were 5-5.
All right.
You love them both the
That's what I
same.
figured. Yep.
I was 8-2 Highway to Hell, and Izzy was 6-4 back Highway to Hell.
Huh.
And honestly, I
mean, it's just both amazing records. What
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
you say, you know?
Absolutely.
It was, and that was like, there were a couple ones that if you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind, but that's
yeah, right. I'm sure.
I mean,
Look, I'm sure my
I have
choices,
them here. I didn't make it up. My picks were made. So
I'm sure my choices changed from the last time that we did this. You know, it's like, oh God, this one sounds good today.
Well, here's the other thing, like just certain things as we do these, and especially for me, I'm not a musician. So one of the things like that I go back to, like I'll listen to like Rob talk about a guitar solo on a Metallica song or a Megadeth song, or I listen to Ricky say something, and just like I then am going to just start listening to things differently. Like there's just stuff when we did the Kiss one, there's certain things I listen to the songs differently because now I hear something I didn't hear before,
right?
Because I've had, Rob pointed out to me, and I don't listen for the same things.
Sure.
I'm a lyric guy. Like I'm a writer, so it's interesting. But it's a great, I'm shocked it ended in a tie, actually. I was expecting the music. I thought with the musicians, they would lean towards Highway to Hell. Personally, that was my gut. I thought Highway to Hell was going to be like the Rock and Roll Over for Kiss. That's what I thought. I didn't think
if you put a gun to my head and said you can only have one of these albums, obviously because you said it was me and Paul, I tied. I would pick Highway to Hell.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too. But Back in Black is, today I listened to them both on vinyl for the first time. And it's like, dude, Back in Black is so fucking good.
Oh, and here's the other thing. Because I own stock in vinyl apparently, because all I ever talk about is vinyl. But I got to be honest with you. Where I'm sitting right now, all my vinyl is right to my right, and throughout the day I'm just playing vinyl. And I have my Apple Music on my computer, and I was listening on Apple Music and I was listening on vinyl, like going back and forth. There is such a profound difference in AC/DC on vinyl versus AC/DC on Apple Music. I mean, it is not even close.
Yeah.
They are a band that is made for vinyl, period.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Just go to the chat room really quick. Sarah says, flips table over. She's mad, obviously. Scotty Strickland checking in. Strickland checking in from Canada. Says Greg is just wrong. Apparently our listeners call Paul Greg.
I've been called a lot worse.
Yes. Tall Bear says, okay, third match, Steel Cage is coming soon. It absolutely is. Lori from Australia, both brilliant records, have them both on LP, as well you should. Oh, here we go. There was a question for Ricky that Jeffro Lee Roth wanted to ask. He's please ask Ricky what his favorite song, Thin Lizzy, his favorite. Are you drunker than me, Jeffro? Learn how to type. Please ask Ricky what his favorite song is to Thin Lizzy song is playing guitar, just for love of the riff, and what your favorite Thin Lizzy vocal is. And he says, thanks, man. Loving this episode.
That's a great question. Again, it's like, it's like ACT. There's so many. I mean, favorite to play on guitar, riff, Emerald. It's something else.
If it's not Hollywood, you're wrong.
Well, Hollywood's a great track. Phil, a favorite Phil vocal again, man.
Still in Love with You. Oh,
Still in Love with You is amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, anything on Live and Dangerous, it's just unbelievable. I got to go for something off Black Rose, though. I got to go for maybe. Got to give it up.
What are your
Because
thoughts?
you can
on...
hear the
Go ahead,
desperation in his voice there. You know what I'm saying?
What are your thoughts on Rosalie?
It's awesome. It's a great song to play.
Fuck yeah.
Are there any Thin Lizzy songs that aren't awesome?
No,
though,
it's
to
like,
be fair.
it's like, fuck, dude, it's like fucking looking at the set list every night.
Yeah,
going, oh,
right.
really, that one doesn't suck. That one doesn't suck. Oh no, really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's to sing those amazing songs that him and the boys wrote. It's such an honor and a privilege. It really is.
Do you come across people that don't know Rosalie is a cover?
Yes.
Yeah, if you're listening and don't know Rosalie is a cover, it is a Bob Seger song. And apparently the story goes that you would probably know this better than I, because I'm sure you've heard it firsthand from like real people in Thin Lizzy, that they were doing it at soundcheck when they were opening up for Bob Seger, and Seger heard him do it and goes, "Fuck, it's yours." That's the story I heard.
I haven't heard that story, but that could well be true. That's one of the 15 billion stories that Scott hasn't told me 7,000 billion times in the last 10 years. Yeah, and you know what? I never get tired of him because Scotty, he loves to command the back lounge of the bus, and he gets a couple of glasses of wine into him. And the stories of him and Phil ripping it up back in the day are just unbelievable. I mean, they're unbelievable. And at this point, I've heard them all 100 times, but I could hear them another million more times because they're so good,
Back when I think this was right after I left Metal Edge. I'm not I don't think I definitely wasn't at Metal Edge, so it was after I left Metal Edge. I got hired to write the Thin Lizzy bio, and so it was probably when did I leave Metal Edge? That's a Rika question, not a me question. Metal Edge was probably, let me think, probably mid 2000s. It was sometime in the mid 2000s, like 2006-ish, maybe somewhere around there. 2006, 2007, I would do the bio was the Thin Lizzy bio. And were you with them?
No, I didn't join the band. First time I played live was 2011. Paul.
That makes sense then. So it was before
with John Sykes singing then.
Yes, it was. Yes, exactly. So that was exactly it. So it was interesting though. I spent a lot of time on the phone with Scott doing the interviews, and he was literally one of the absolute nicest people ever. And
he's the real fucking deal. He's amazing.
We talked for a while, and I'm a huge Thin Lizzy fan. We talked for a while. He's like, you've got to come out and visit and blah, blah, come on the road with us. And he actually followed up with me and was like, the offer still stands. And I was just like, my God. And I've still never met him, but it was just like, my God. He's one of those people.
He's everything you want him to be and more. He just has the swagger and the attitude. He's a rock star. It's natural to him. He's a funny, loyal. He's my Uncle Scotty, man. I love him to bits. He turned 70 next week on St. Patrick's Day.
Wow! On St. Patrick's Day.
On St. Patrick's Day.
Wow! I'll drink one in his honor. Definitely. Yeah. That's. Do you see similarities? Do you see any similarities between Phil and Bon?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I think that because that maverick outlaw rock and roll, just devil may care attitude, the swagger, the little cheeky wink and the grin. I mean, Phil had that in abundance as Bon did, very much so. I mean, they're both just iconic, inspirational frontmen that the likes of we'll never see again. We just won't.
Right. Scotty from Canada also is he's a fellow Monsters of Rock cruiser. And he says he loves Black Star Riders. They crushed it live on the 2015 Monsters of Rock cruise.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Scotty.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Do you have, and this is a question for everybody, do you guys have a favorite Thin Lizzy cover?
Like a band?
Wait, are you saying
that? Yeah, like somebody that covered Thin Lizzy.
Oh.
Rob?
No, and I'm trying to...
Hold on, I'm gonna get you. Someone else go, and then I'll get back.
I mean, did that? I think was it Adler that did Hollywood? No, fucking. I think Warrant did Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, that fucking killed. Obviously, the Anthrax version of Cowboy Song is fucking amazing.
Iron Maiden did a pretty good job of Emerald.
Yeah,
I think Emerald was a B-side of what single? Paul, you might be able to tell me. I can't remember, but it was definitely a B-side of a Maiden single. It's been a while since I heard it, but it was It's pretty cool.
I don't like the Metallica
I feel like it was,
covers.
Hold on, I'm looking that up because I have a guess, but I don't want to be wrong.
I like the Metallica cover, and the fact that they just rocked the song up and made it sound like Metallica,
right?
And that works, And the great thing about Whiskey in the Jar is, obviously it's an old traditional Irish folk song that that Lizzy revisited, but actually on recording that Lizzy do, there's no bass guitar on it.
Really?
Nope, there's no bass guitar on the version of Whiskey in the Jar.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That is weird.
It's got a little bit of trivia for you there. And that's funny because I remember that's the first time I saw Thin Lizzy. I was 6 years old and he did that on Top of the Pops. I think it was about 1972. And I was 6 and I just remember going, this song's amazing. And that was the first time I ever was conscious of Thin Lizzy or, the whole thing. And
I got another one that I love that I forgot to ask Jesse about when he was here because there was this band out of Minnesota called Slave Raider. And their second album was a concept record called What Do You Know About Rock and Roll? It was basically you get arrested, blah, 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 for listening to rock and roll. But part of it is they did fucking Jailbreak, and that was a very cool version of the song as well.
That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite riffs. That riff never gets tired. It's just Jailbreak's such a great riff.
I was confused because I was thinking of Massacre, and that was what I thought was Can I Play with Madness? And Massacre is the B-side to Can I Play with Madness? That was the one I have.
Right.
So that was the one I was thinking.
Was it Massacre, not Emerald?
Massacre was that's I know they covered Massacre, and that was what I was thinking of, which is why I got confused. And I know that's the Can I Play with Madness B-side. I think let me see if I don't think Iron Maiden covered Emerald.
Maybe
they did. It's hard to keep up. I don't think they did. Emerald Mind
it must have been Massacre.
Yeah, I think it's Massacre. Yeah. It's so
like
hard to keep it all straight after a while.
I did like the Ace Frehley cover of Emerald.
You know what? I heard that. It was pretty badass, actually. It's pretty cool. Yeah, he did a good job. Yes, indeed.
God, I'm trying to think back, and so there were so many Jailbreak covers, and it's like as a kid, that was actually, that's what got me. That's what got me into Thin Lizzy was hearing people's covers. I was never Metallica had kind of started to lose me by the time they did Whiskey. That's for sure. I could say that with certainty. But yeah,
you don't like their version of Whiskey.
I'm just not. Here's the thing. I love Metallica. They just to me was their full transformation into a classic rock band.
Yeah.
It was just like everything we talked about last week. I don't hate the cover. They do a capable cover of it.
Yeah,
it just didn't do for me what they did with Last Caress.
Right. And I didn't even like the cover of fucking the Seeger cover. I want to hear the Seeger version. I want to hear that fucking saxophone, it's just got this road vibe to it that I don't think Metallica transformed into them. You don't get the same feeling about it.
And again, I love Metallica. It's two bands for me, and I love the metal side of it more than I love kind of that transitional thing from like the Black Album through the Loads and the covers. They just lost me for a while there. It's that simple. They're still an amazing band live.
Yeah. Lori checking in, say great fucking show. I love the Gary Moore. Thank you, Izzy, Paul, and Ricky, and Rob, and Jesse. Jeffro says, thank you. Amazing episode. Love. And we kind of like you, Jeffro. Thank you very much. Let's do this. Let's wrap this up. Ricky, you want to pimp your shit again one more time?
Thanks.
Where can they get the new
Izzy.
record?
New record's available, everywhere you think it should be. It's on vinyl. We've got some great colored vinyl available as well. Nuclear Blast Records, When Life Was Hard and Fast. It's the new solo album. Please check it out.
Where's the colored vinyl? Because I was actually looking at vinyl this morning. Where's the colored vinyl?
I got you, man.
You got me?
I just want the regular black. I just want the regular black, like my
we
man.
get the black vinyl, we got green vinyl, and we got ivory pearl vinyl.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to pay for it though. I mean, I don't feel right, but I mean, if you want to give it to me, I'll take it. But I'll pay for it. Whatever.
You guys Nuclear Blast Records.
There you
Nuclear
go.
Blast Records.
People want to find you online anywhere?
Yeah, RickyWarwick.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual suspects on there. So thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Ricky, you are always welcome. No matter what, man. You're always fucking welcome. Rob, you as well.
Thanks, man.
You want to throw out anything else you need to throw out?
I mean, I guess
got it at the beginning, right?
Keep your ears open for for new Volbeat stuff at some point down the line, and that's basically it. You can follow me on all the social media stuff, just at Rob Caggiano.
And we might have to have Rob back next week just to go for 3 in a row.
Yeah, right. Well, dude,
you're doing this again next week.
Not this topic.
Not this topic. No.
Not this topic.
That brings me to the question, Mr. Paul. What are we doing next week? Because I chose this week, so that means it's your turn.
Oh, you're leaving it up to me next week?
Leaving it up to you next week, my friend.
Do we have to just wait? I'm looking at my note. I'm looking at my notes. Here's the thing. I kind of want to shape around certain guests, because if we do certain ones, there's certain people. I know certain people want to come on and talk about certain bands. And if certain people aren't available, I don't want to say definitely do this one and then have 2 people go, "Oh, I'm not available."
Very well. So you're on the fence.
I told you the ones I like. I'm ready to do Maiden when you are.
We have to wait for the sweater to show up first.
Okay. I think Slave to the Grind versus Cowboys can be great. I think that would be a really interesting one. I know you're not as keen on this one as I am. I think Shout at the Devil versus 1984 could also be cool. No, you don't think so, Rob?
That's a weird one.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. I mean,
that's why I think it's cool.
It's more like pizza and apples.
And my skinny fat ass wants pizza now, so thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I mean, look, we keep talking about all these albums that are so classic that they can't go up against anything else, which is why I keep thinking
right.
That's 2 albums that everyone says can't go up against anything else.
Well, look, there was also the idea today, if you take D off of Blizzard, you could put Blizzard.
I like that a lot. I like
Blizzard
that a lot.
of Oz against Highway to Hell. Or not Highway to Hell, Heaven and Hell. Sorry.
Heaven and Hell. Yes.
Heaven and Hell.
I like that idea. I like Heaven and Hell versus Blizzard. I would be willing to go to that one next if you want to do that one. I have no problem with you. I have no problem with you picking, because once you pick, I go to work on the guests. So that's where the difference.
All right. I guess that's it. So next week, let me hit the outro music here really quick. Thank you. Oh yeah. Tall Bear says Cowboy versus Slave. We will do that. But like I said,
we will do that.
When we do that, it's going to be a fucking hour of me going, dude, I'm sounding like fucking Sebastian Bach.
Well, no, here's the thing. I think if we do it, to do that one properly, I think we have to get Sebastian on and Rex Brown on.
I would love that. That would, that would be fucking great. That would be great.
Sebastian, here's the thing, and I don't know that Sebastian would do it, but here's the thing. Sebastian loves Pantera. So it would be
absolutely.
And they toured together at the time. There's like all this different. I think that's an interesting one. I think that's a fun one. So
yeah. So all right. So next week it is final. It is Blizzard of Oz versus Heaven and Hell. As I hit the outro music, Ricky Warwick. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Always welcome. Rob Caggiano.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Always
Rob.
welcome.
Good to see you, Rob.
Paul Gargano. Go fuck yourself. Make sure you guys.
That's an awesome inside joke if that's how you end the show.
That's it. We're done. Actually, no. I just thought it would be funny right now. Make sure you guys hit up all the social media at Real Lizzy Presley all the way across the board. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Hit up Metal Edge Magazine. Is it at Metal Edge? Is that?
It's at Paul Gargano and Metal Edge Magazine.
There you go.
Instagram.
Find that stuff. I think I should probably change the name of the show on Facebook too. just because
We'll get there.
I care. We'll get there. What else? T-shirts available. I'm sure there's Metal Edge T-shirts going to be available soon. We'll work on that as well. Next week, we're going to do Ozzy Osbourne. Listen to Boss versus. We're going to do fucking Heaven and Hell, man. So that should be good. And I think that's all I got. My name is Izzy Presley. Ricky Warwick already left. On behalf of Mark Gargano, I guess we love you. So that's it. All right, bye-bye.
Ricky's bladder was exploding.
And we'll see you guys. I'll open up the. I'll throw the Zoom gimmick up soon, and you guys can join us afterwards, or join me afterwards at least.
Okay.
All right. See you guys next week. I love you all.